Hey, how is everybody today? It is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. It's been a little while. This is Freddie Ewan, two-time GM of the Year, Pan Cup winner, host of that fantasy football show with Freddie Ewan, the fantasy football god, or Doctor Podcast. Week 6 is in the books. Next week is actually the halfway point of the regular season of fantasy football. It goes quick sometimes. It goes quick when you're having fun. We're going to get into a whole bunch of things today. Talk about week 6, what we learned in week 6. A couple things transpired today. As you see, Davante Adams is going to go over to the New York Jets. He's going to be reunited with Aaron Rodgers. I want to just get everyone a little bit of an update on what's happening. Saleh got fired last week, and just want to was able to get a couple interviews with both Saleh and Aaron Rodgers, and just wanted to share that with you really quickly. Let's get Saleh first up and see what he had to say about getting fired. Take me just a second to get him up. Here he is.
Just fucking fired me. And you guys probably think I'm upset, but honestly, it's a huge relief not to be coaching this poverty franchise anymore. Just imagine coming into work every day and getting dirty looks from that ayahuasca sipping douchebag Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, Aaron is one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, but we're talking about a guy who's betrayed every teammate he ever had, including his own family. You know, I'd rather watch that MILF hunting Mormon Zach Wilson throw 5 picks a game than spend another day with that toxic, washed up bum of a man. Woody Johnson decided to throw Robert Saleh under the bus today. But the real tragedy is that he's been throwing the people of New York under the bus for over a decade. I just don't understand who the fuck would buy a ticket to watch a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in over 15 years. This entire organization can kiss my hairy Lebanese ass.
That's Robert Saleh. Obviously, a little bit upset that he got fired. Aaron Rodgers is running that Jets team, and yeah, has not been to the playoffs in 15 years. Um, Fired the head coach, picked up Davante Adams today. Right after Saleh got fired, Aaron Rodgers had a couple things to say about that, and I'm going to just bring him up really quickly, see what he had to say about it.
That's now. Robert Saleh was getting in my fucking way and opening his mouth to the media about how Aaron Rodgers, like out of football, was responsible for the Jets' losses. Just listen to what that bald-headed imbecile said about me after the Vikings game. How would you assess Aaron's performance?
Obviously up and down. You know, the biggest thing that we've got to be able to do, the biggest thing that we talked about going into this game was playing clean ball, and Minnesota had been feasting on pick sixes and putting their offensive position to get easy layups, and unfortunately that pick six was a big difference in the game.
Can you believe Robert blaming our loss on my interception when my offensive line let me get hit 11 goddamn times? Robert Saleh is a nobody, and he dared to disrespect Aaron Rodgers. After Robert said this, I went right to Woody Johnson. I told Woody to hand Robert a pink slip, and of course Woody did it because he's my fucking butler. Woody had security throw Robert on the street like he was a dog nobody wanted. Anyways, I don't feel bad. Robert's an all right defensive coordinator, but he isn't an NFL head coach, and we had to get rid of him. I'm calling the plays now in New York. See you guys next week.
So that was Aaron Rodgers on Robert Saleh and the firing of his. Rodgers spoke a little bit last night. I haven't heard anything from him about the Adams trade, but the Jets did lose to the Bills 23-20 last night, and after the game, Aaron had this to say.
If my teammates fucking choke. Garrett Wilson had 100 yards receiving tonight, but he dropped 2 passes in the end zone where I hit him right in his goddamn hands. Christ, even Kadarius Toney could have caught those balls to make things better. That bum, Greg Zuerlein, doinked 2 kicks off the uprights, once from 32 yards.
A touchdown off the board. Zuerlein, you can see it right.
And another beauty from 43.
Good snap, good hold.
Greg's been in the league for a while now, but we should probably cut him. And last but not least, that fucking goof, Mike Williams. When the game was on the line in the last 2 minutes, I threw a 50-yard piss missile on the money right to him, but Mike fell on his goddamn face and let Buffalo intercept the ball. Anyways, tonight sucked. We're 2-4, and we probably won't win many more football games with this many clowns on the roster.
So you can see why, obviously, that Davante Adams is now on his way to the New York Jets. Very unhappy there with Aaron Rodgers and what's going on with his receivers there. Let's get to week 6 and let's start talking about it. I'm going to bring a couple things up on my screen. Week 6, Caleb Williams is now fantasy friendly. He put up some numbers over there in England, London. That's where they played the Jaguars. The Jaguars have an absolute horrible team. It's looking more and more like Trevor Lawrence is a bust, but there was a lot of people that were, they were getting on Williams a lot and saying Williams is nowhere compared to Daniels. Daniels should have been the first pick, et cetera, et cetera. I think everyone knows that Daniels was the more NFL-ready quarterback, and it was going to take Williams a little bit more time to develop. Both of these guys got thrown right to the fire, both starting quarterbacks, and Williams is starting to play really well. I think Williams is, like it says here, he's becoming very fantasy-friendly. I know he's still available on a lot of leagues. If you can pick this guy up, pick him up. He's a quarterback to have. I think Williams is going to put up some numbers just as we keep going. He threw 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 226 yards. Got everyone involved. DJ Moore didn't have that big of a game, only 5 targets. Cole Kmet, 5 targets, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kmet is obviously a fantasy tight end. I doubt you can get him on the waiver wire, but he was available on lots of waiver wires. The running game helps too. DeAndre Swift, another good game, 17 carries, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. Everyone was getting on Swift earlier on in the year, and now Swift is definitely fantasy relevant. So keep your eye on Caleb Williams. If he's available, I've seen him available in some leagues. If he is, pick him up, grab him. It's just gonna be all good things from him. Let's talk about next the Houston Texans. Tank Dell played absolutely phenomenal for the Texans. They beat the Patriots 41-21. Nico Collins, of course, goes on the IR. Tank Dell comes in. He's got 9 targets, 7 receptions, 57 yards, and a touchdown. I don't think Tank is going to give you the necessary numbers that Nico was giving you, but I got a guy in one of my leagues, which I thought he was a complete moron when he did this, but now he's looking genius. He's 6-0 in this league. He had Dell and Collins from last year when they went on that run at the end of the year. I thought adding Diggs was going to hurt all of them, but now with Collins out, he's basically using Dell as a handcuff for Collins and just inserts Dell. It's almost genius how he's looking right now with it. But Tank Dell is probably not a guy. He's definitely not a guy on waiver wires. Don't know if you can trade for him after this week, but this guy is going to be just fine. If you do not have Nico Collins and you have Tank Dell, you're in good shape. A lot of people don't have that though. Tank Dell is going to put up some points, and Diggs as well. I mean, Diggs had 6 receptions, 7 targets, 77 yards, and a touchdown. These wide receivers are going to put up numbers. Houston Texans puts up a lot of points, 41 points, as they beat the New England Patriots 41-21. Let's talk about this next guy. Don't go trading his wide receiver Chris Godwin for him. That would be a very bad idea. But Baker Mayfield is a legitimate top 5 NFL fantasy quarterback, a guy that if you want to be starting this guy almost every single week with the way he's playing. Once again, don't trade Chris Godwin for him. If you have Chris Godwin, try to trade for Baker and stack it, but don't trade Chris Godwin for him. Please do not do that. Baker Mayfield, 325 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have 3 picks. Also had 29 yards rushing, just a all over the place, a tough game for Evans, as we knew it was going to be a tough game for Evans, but Chris Godwin stepped it up. I mean, Chris Godwin, 11 receptions, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns, 13 targets. Very interesting what's going to go on with the running back situation there, because this guy, Sean Tucker, undrafted free agent, 2nd year in the league, 14 carries, 136 yards, and a touchdown. Also had 3 receptions, 56 yards, and a touchdown with Roddy White out. Bucky Irving was supposed to be the man. Irving had a great day. Irving had, 14 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. And I think he had, 2 catches and 24 yards. Great day for Irving, but now with this guy Sean Tucker in there and with Roddy White coming back, you might see a 3-headed monster down in Tampa Bay, which is going to be really tough for any Bucky Irving or Roddy White owners. I own Bucky Irving in a league, and I don't know exactly what to do. I think I'm going to have to go after Sean Tucker just to see what's going to happen. But going to be interesting the next couple of weeks how that running back situation works out in Tampa Bay. Back to Baker. Baker's the guy you pretty much want to start every week. He is a, top 3 in points right now for NFL quarterbacks. Just, a guy that wasn't drafted in most leagues and just, playing absolutely phenomenal. This is another interesting situation, what is going on in Cincinnati right now, as a lot of people, this guy got a lot of pre-draft fantasy football hype, and a lot of people were disappointed early on, but Chase Brown is becoming the man in Cincinnati. Zach Moss is a good player. I always liked Zach Moss a lot. He put me over the top in a couple leagues last year. But, just to go over, 6 carries for Zach Moss, 13 yards. They gave the ball to Chase Brown, 10 carries, 53 yards, and a touchdown. I think that you're going to see as we keep going along that the Bengals are going to be putting Chase Brown more and more in, and Zach Moss is pretty much going to become a third down and short yardage back. We'll see what they do in the red zone and goal line carries. Moss is the bigger guy. He should be able to get some of those goal line carries. But, I'm okay with Chase Brown now. He also caught 2 balls out there. Cincinnati did not put a lot of points on the board. The Giants actually have a pretty good defense. But look out for, if you're a Chase Brown owner, I think you could be very happy right now because he's going to keep things going as the season improves. This guy right here, I got this guy on one of my fantasy teams. And people had gotten on me because I did not keep James Cook, and I could have kept him for a much smaller price than I could have went and got Mixon. But here's the thing, running backs, good or bad, you always want to get running backs that are on teams that score, and the Houston Texans score a lot of points. Mixon was out for I think he only played in game 1. He played in game 1 where he was the running back number 2 overall. He was out for 4 games, came back. They really took their time with him. They had Cam Akers doing his thing. Cam Akers put up some points for you. But Joe Mixon, now that he's back, 13 carries, 102 yards, and a touchdown. Also had 2 receptions for 30 yards and a touchdown. Joe Mixon is going to put up points. Houston has a phenomenal offense. I think, with losing Collins, that they're going to have to lean a little bit more in the running game as well. Once again, Mixon's a little bit older than some running backs. He's going to be an injury concern as this is only a second game back, but going to be very happy Joe Mixon fans as well. And last but not least, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers and what's going on with the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love has been fantastic. He's been pretty much fantastic he was out for 3 games, but every game he's played in, he's been absolutely fantastic. He's been putting points up like crazy, throwing lots of touchdown passes. As an NFL quarterback, he still makes some mistakes here and there. I saw a couple miscues that he made a couple weeks ago, but really just yesterday or on Sunday was phenomenal as the Packers won 34-13. And let me just give you a Love stats really quick. Love had 258 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Great offensive line play, was not sacked once. Here's the thing about the wide receivers. There are a lot of Green Bay Packers wide receivers, and they have been all over the place as far as receiving wise. Christian Watson, he's available on a lot of waiver wires. 3 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Romeo Doubs, 3 receptions, 49 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tucker Kraft did not have a good game. He had 2 receptions for 13 yards. Bo Melton was in there. Donovan Wicks was in there. I think the only guy that you can really count on with the Packers wide receivers, it's going to be a wide receiver carousel. There's going to be wide receivers that are going to get points on the Packers week in and week out. And Jayden Reed is looking like the guy who's going to get most targets. He's going to be the most dominant receiver on the team. That's what he's pretty much proved. He had 6 targets for 6 receptions, only had 28 yards and a touchdown, but he had more targets than anyone else. So Jayden Reed is probably going to be a must go. If you have to put in a flyer, you got to figure out which Packer receiver besides Jayden Reed is going to be the flyer on those guys. So those guys are good bench stashes. But it feels to me that you might put in, Christian Watson one day and he might give you 0 points. Meanwhile, Romeo Doubs gives you, 20 points. And then, meanwhile, the next week, Wicks gives you 18 points and Doubs gives you nothing, So I really think that's going to be the carousel and where it flies today. As far as the week, how did I do? I actually had a really bad week in fantasy football. I finished 1-4. The league that I want to do well at, I am 5-1 in the TPFFK, my favorite league, the John Galt League, where I didn't spend as much money as the other guys. I am struggling these days. 1-5, I believe. A lot of injuries in football. It seems that there's been a lot of injuries in fantasy football, both on the offense, the defense too, with Hutchinson. Just such a shame to see that guy go. He was by far the defensive player of the year. Just want to show you who the top quarterback averages are right now. Lamar Jackson first, Jordan Love second, Baker Mayfield third, Jaden Daniels fourth, Joe Burrow fifth, Joe Flacco sixth, John Allen seventh, Sam Darnold eighth, Joe Flacco. You can still get on a lot of waiver wires. Let's just go to the wide receivers, see how the wide receivers are doing as far as season average wise. AJ Brown hasn't played a whole lot, but he's putting up some great numbers. Always going to do it. Malik Neighbors should be back this week. Nico obviously on the IR. That's a big hurt. Jamar Chase is doing his thing. Chris Godwin really overachieving, but it looks like he's going to keep that up. JJ's doing just fine. Cooper Kupp should be back in a couple weeks. Jaden Reed, as we talked about before, doing really good. Drake London's up there. Rashi Rice, of course, he's probably going to be out. Amon's out there. Garrett Wilson's numbers I expect will go down now that Davante Adams is over there. I don't like any of those guys now. The only guy who gets an up is Aaron Rodgers, but I think that trade fantasy football wise that Garrett Wilson gets a downgrade. I think Breece Hall gets a downgrade too. And I think, Adams, he was on the Raiders where, you have Gardner Minshew throwing the ball, but I think Wilson gets Wilson Adams, I'll downgrade all of them. I think they're going to be all downgraded a little bit. Let's just go to running back really quick and then tight end and get you out of here. This is of course average. Derrick Henry is doing absolutely excellent. Joe Mixon as well. Alvin Kamara is still playing good football. He's put up points like you wouldn't believe. Barkley had a tough game last week, but he's doing well. Kenneth Walker, this is another surprise. Jonathan Taylor, don't know what's going on with him. David Montgomery putting up more points than Gibbs. See where Gibbs is for average. Gibbs is down there a little bit down, but yeah, I really was I'm really surprised that David Montgomery is putting up better numbers than Gibbs, but I get it. Montgomery's gonna get a lot of that goal line work, and then just tight end, which has been just a total dumpster fire. Even Ingram came out and played really the first game in a while and played extremely well, top targets. George Kittle's playing phenomenal. He's probably the hands down the best fantasy tight end. Bowers is up there too. Komet is playing really well. Agram, obviously, McBride. I think Goddard's numbers are going to go down now that they're healthy against. Blake Whiteheart, Cincinnati. I don't think you're going to see him playing too much. Tucker Kraft, Isaiah Likely. That's the average for a couple of those guys, but still tight end is just a big dumpster fire. It's like you just got to put someone in to put them in. Anyway, that is the show for Tuesday. I am playing in a guillotine draft tonight, which should be really interesting. I'll get on the show and tell you guys all about it tomorrow, but thanks for joining me on Tuesday. Hope you got all the information from Aaron Rodgers, Robert Saleh. We'll have a comment probably tomorrow on Davante Adams going there from Aaron and see where we go from there. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.